You watched the remix announcement. I watched it as well.
Yeah, I watched it. They seem to have been cooking something up for, I think, a year, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
And they seem to want to create I would say, breakthrough React framework.
I yeah, it sound. I mean, based on the live streams, they said something like they were giving workshops all year long, and because of COVID, or thanks to COVID, they had time to work on something because they had to stay home, which I guess is kind of cool when you can make the best out of a situation. I saw a big parallel with Remotion. I mean, I saw two parallels. First is that you guys, from what I've seen from the presentation, you guys are making React and React Native. So here, I guess React more, but less interesting. I mean, the fact now we can use it for doing motion graphics makes React like very interesting, very exciting. Makes the field, like new stuff. And same with Remix, right, where they bring this new model, which is, I guess now, so you know how we always switch from server side to client side, and this is like now a mix of client and thick and thin client, but also it's like server side first. I don't know. I just think it makes the field of React development super interesting and super exciting.
Yeah, indeed. It seems like, and I would say this in general, people come up with new use cases for React without React having to change itself.
Yeah, it's perfect. And so what did so I thought so I didn't get so we have to mention that it's closed source. The license, if you're an indie developer, is $250 per year. I didn't get it yet. The problem is that you cannot even test it without the license, but I guess it's because it's in beta. And so it's non-refundable. And then it's $1,000 per seat if you're a company. So I didn't play with it yet. But I thought the model they were presenting was making a lot of sense. I thought it was pretty exciting. It seems to be in like many projects seems to be going in the same direction. So Dan Abramov showed the server-side component earlier this year. There is also some other frameworks in like Hotwire and so on in some other technologies which now are embracing this. So we're going back to the server, right? Which was to be expected because we always cycle between one of the other. But I thought the model they were presenting was very, very exciting.
Yeah, indeed. So it's a very different model to, let's say, Next.js, which I would say it's pretty. They are trying to achieve a similar thing as Next.js, but their model is vastly different. With that, yeah, it's closed source and you have to pay for it, which I would say I support this because, yeah, open source is not sustainable. We could, talk about this a lot, but essentially they're doing great work and they need to have a way to get paid for it.
Yes.
And it's good that they do, so they don't. So they keep being happy and keep improving the framework, and that instead of just having like a big burden on themselves,
Yeah.
And no reward.
And it's like for any technological progress, at the beginning, it's expensive to access it. So right now, I would say it's quite expensive, non-refundable, and you cannot even play with it before. But it sounded also based on the website that these conditions are going to change when they go to V1, because right now it's beta. So meaning, I don't remember, but maybe you can get a refund or you can test it when. So I'm just saying that as the technology, so there is this big innovation, and right now it's expensive to access it. But for sure, these things, they democratize themselves and become like commodity. And so which seems to be like, to me, feels like a very natural model, actually.
Yeah, I welcome that. See, I hope also that the more people adopt it, that the more they can lower the price and still be sustainable. For me right now, to be honest, I wouldn't buy into it. Um, since I think it's also beneficial that you know there's already a lot of GitHub discussions and Stack Overflow content for the more popular frameworks, which is why I would always choose a popular framework. And of course, you get like support from the developers of the framework. But just not being able to see the source code.
No, you can see the source code, I think.
Okay, if you
If you
buy
buy
it,
the
you can.
license, you can fix bugs, you can
Okay,
do everything,
that's good.
which makes sense.
Okay, then I'm more likely to buy into it actually.
I think I'm not like based on what I understood, but I'm not sure.
I see. But I would say right now it's for like the early adopters.
Yeah.
Once it's I need it to be already popular so that I can build upon it. Otherwise, I will just hit roadblocks sooner. I guess, and but still, I think it's good that I think they are on a path to long-term success.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, if they have a lot of success, that they can grow it and make it more accessible as well.
What I liked about the presentation, again, I will need to play with it to make sure that's the case. But what it seemed to me from the presentation is that it was very focused on fixing one singular use case. It's not like this new framework or new library that does everything. They seemed really like to be, you can integrate it into your existing app, kind of. It runs on any server, it seems like, and that it's really focused on this thin, I don't know how you call this server first model. Should I call it server side component model? I don't know. But so this I like. This seduced me because it's not like one thing where they do everything. It's like it felt like something I can just bring into my app, and it felt like not so. It felt focused, so which I think is nice.
Yeah, and also I think another big focus or almost an obsession, I would say, of them is that they are trying to minimize the need for JavaScript. So even with Next.js, even if they server render it, once the app is served, they still hydrate and like load, react, and render it on the client side to make everything interactive. With Remix, they say if it's not needed, then we don't ship any JavaScript at all.
Yeah.
So they are taking this concept a lot further.
Yeah, and it was kind of beautiful that they managed to reconciliate the. And I think that's what they wrote on their website. I forgot the tagline, but they reconciliated this rich client with like web standards, HTTP standards, HTML standards. That's what they showed in the demo, and I think was kind of cool and beautiful. And it was almost even surprising that this was possible.
Yeah, indeed. It's like super cool. For me, in some way, it's like very satisfying for nerds to have like the most optimized solution. Hey, actually, we don't need any JavaScript at all. And also, it feels very idealistic for me. We can do this without JavaScript. But then I'm also concerned if it's just like almost too idealistic because, okay, if you jump through so many hoops. Well, at least it seems that there is some overhead
Yes.
to achieving this. There must be.
Yes.
That if this is if it takes time to like achieve this super to eliminate all the need of JavaScript, that it actually slows you down and not doesn't bring you this, like, I would say having no JavaScript doesn't bring you this huge benefit.
I agree completely, and that's something, because we talked about privately about this topic, and that's something that came up, is that us geeks, we see this and we love it, that it's beautiful, it's a beautiful model, they achieved something really substantial, but then we need to see in practice, like, are some of these benefits really worth it? Or, we need to, like, we love that the technical model is, or at least I love it, I find it to be so pure and beautiful. But of course, what are really the pragmatic benefits and in practice? And so I see three links between this project and Remotion. So the first one I mentioned is that you guys make the field and the industry exciting. The second one is that I thought that Ryan Florence was very good to market the project and to show the benefits, which is not necessarily a given. So you can build something great, build a great technology, but it might be hard for you to get developers excited about it. And that's something also that was hitting me with Remotion, is that you make a very good job, I think, to showcase the technology and to show its power. So I felt also a link, a connection with Remotion. And the third connection is you guys are trying to build a sustainable model based on open source. I mean, Remix is not open source, but you are building a technical innovation. You're trying to build a sustainable business around it.
Yeah, totally. I think even though Remix is not open source, it also doesn't feel like like a host. It's not a hosted project either. It's like you put this in your app and you don't have any dependency on like the company behind Remix. So I would also I see it as something similar. And Remotion is technically also not open source. And I actually never say that Remotion is open source.
Oh, okay.
Because there are some people that comment and say, no, open source is if you can do anything that you want with it. And so Remotion...
Well, I thought open source is you can view the source and you can do anything with it. It's more like libre, free as in...
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't...
it's yeah, it's a battle with about terminology.
Okay.
These people who say, yeah, but it's not Linux, it's GNU plus Linux, and people who really care about the terminology. These are the people who say this is not open source. So while I say that, while I do not normally, people say it's open source, I do not correct them, because I think that's so.
If it's not open source, how do you call a project where you can see the source
so
and contribute to it?
So Remotion is a source available project.
I didn't know that. Okay.
But I think if I say open source, then what most people actually think it's that you can see the source. And okay, it violates the definition of the open source foundation or whatever it's called. So I don't call it open source anymore, even though I think that when I say open source, that 95% of the people think the same what I think.
So which license is it running under?
So it's like I put my own license
Okay.
because all the open source license, they basically transfer all the rights to people. And of course, I'm not a license specialist, and yeah, people think a lot about difference between MIT GPL 2, GPL version 3, ISC. Like some of these licenses, they have clauses in there. I think, sometimes there's a clause that you have to, like, if you make an improvement upon the software, that you have to contribute it back. I think that's for example, the Linux kernel, I think, applies this clause. But I'm no specialist, but I thought about what kind of terms I want for Remotion, and I just wrote it down. And don't be scared to make your own license. You can express in your own terms to what you want people to be able to do with the software, and it counts.
Cool.
Even if it's not in legal speak, you might leave little loopholes open.
I mean, I'm sure you will improve incrementally. It's like a software, basically.
Yes. And then, you can fix these loopholes.
Yes, nice. Well, let's go to the moon. I hope Remotion goes to the moon. I hope Remix goes to the moon. I love that, we get these amazing innovations in our community. So, long live Remotion and long live Remix.
Yeah, I hope both of our projects can sustain and go to the moon.
Let's go.